After around 70 hours of meditation, I found the key to unlocking out-of-body experiences and accessing planes beyond the astral plane and experiencing higher and higher levels of consciousness. So in today's video, I'm going to break down exactly how that happened for me and how you can potentially do the same thing as well. Towards the end of the video today, I'm going to show you the method of meditation that I use to access out-of-body experiences. I'm going to show you all of the intricacies involved in this particular technique, and I'll show you how you can tailor this particular method to suit you. One thing that I can't guarantee is that it's going to happen for you. This is something that worked for me, and everyone is different, so it might be that these things don't quite match up for you, but I'm just being honest. There are gurus and teachers out there who won't be totally truthful with you when it comes to these kind of experiences. And I've found in my experience over the last 20 years of practicing meditation and teaching people that these things are very personal. Everyone has a slightly different key to unlocking their own out-of-body experiences. So I'm going to show you how it worked out for me, and you can feel free to give it a go and see if it works for you. This video today is going to be really raw. I've not got any crazy edits. It's just purely me talking to the camera. You're not going to want to miss out on this video, so get yourself a cup of tea, make yourself comfortable, and let's get started. There are lots of teachers and gurus and people online showing you how to do astral projection and things like that, and I actually wouldn't recommend, I wouldn't say that it's the right thing for everyone to do. It's not necessarily correct for you to astral project right now, because there are lots of factors involved. You've got to kind of get the foundations in play, and it's not me putting you down saying that I'm really great and you're down there and you're not able yet to be able to astral project and things like that. But it's more a case of you have to go through your apprenticeship in meditation and in this work to have the foundations to be able to start to build from there. I truly believe that. And there are some people who come into this life who maybe have had lots of previous lifetimes of work, so they kind of just step into this life and they're already ready to go. But I think even in this lifetime, there are lots of things that we need to have a good understanding of in order to not go totally off track or lose our mind by doing things like astral projection or having these like profound out-of-body experiences. So I wanted to caveat this whole video with that, because I do feel it's important that if it doesn't feel right to you, or if it's not happening, just know that it's probably the right thing. It's probably a good thing. There are other things that you need to be working on that are going to help you to get there in the future. I do feel like it's possible for absolutely everyone. I don't think that there's anyone who can't do this, but I do feel like you need to have some foundations to start. You don't want to step into this work without doing it. And that's coming from me, who has had a history of meditation, and I still was taken to the absolute limit of what I could manage mentally. And it wasn't like a mental health kind of issue, you could say. It's not like I was struggling mentally when I had this out-of-body experience, but the sheer amount of energy that it took, the sheer amount of energy that was put into me for the experience to take place, took me up to the absolute edge of what I could cope with. It was like, the only way I can describe it would be like putting the maximum amount of wattage through a light bulb, and if there was a single watt more than it could cope with, it would pop. That's how I felt. That's how it felt in my own mind. It felt like the amount of energy that was put into me was at the absolute limit. And if I'd had a single wattage more, my mind would have just gone. I wouldn't have been able to cope with that amount of energy. So you do have to, not harden to it, but you do have to build up to having profound experiences in my own experience. But like I say, you might have put in lots of work in other lifetimes and you're kind of just stepping forward at a good place already. But things that I'm going to go through in this video, I think will be really useful to anyone, but especially people who don't yet have a guide or a teacher, and they're looking for some way of developing and expanding their consciousness and going deeper in their meditations and potentially astral projecting or beyond in the future. So a lot of it is practical stuff that you can implement immediately and start working on. It's actually not easy stuff either, it's difficult stuff. But going back to what I was saying about my own experience, where it was very tough and I felt like I couldn't have managed any more mentally, I always considered myself a very mentally strong person, probably a bit arrogantly actually. And I have done things in the past like Ironman triathlons. I raced for my country in triathlon, several swim run races. I've done ultra marathons, swim marathons, you name it, any physical challenge you can think of. And I'd really have pushed my body to the absolute limit over the years. Done tons of things, climbed mountains all over the world, climbed solo in the Transylvanian Alps, all sorts of stuff. So I felt like I was really mentally tough, but this experience really made me see that it's not mental strength in our sense of the word, it's more the mental capacity. It's very hard to articulate, but the best way I could put it would be mental capacity, or just like inner capacity to absorb energy. And that was the real part of me that's when I really realized that you need a good foundation in this work if you're looking to seriously progress and try and have profound experiences, because they will tip you over the edge into psychosis. And there are many people there's a very high potential for it to tip you over the edge into psychosis, and there's lots of people around the world who are in mental institutions and hospitals and things because they've tried to progress beyond what they're actually able to manage, or they've done practices like Kundalini and things like this that is far too powerful for them at their current level of consciousness, or with their current ability, their current state of mind, and lots of other things, some of which I'll go through in this video. So the three main things that are really key to progressing, to kind of instigate out-of-body experiences and to instigate astral projection and things like that are, and I've got my book, I'm going really raw with this video today. Firstly, the body. That's related to like everything to do with your sensual body. So if you think of how much you eat and how much you sleep and how much sex you have, do you watch porn, and you can go through everything related to your senses and try and establish whether you are in control of each of those one attributes. So like, do you overeat all the time? Do you undereat all the time? Do you sleep in too much? Do you not sleep enough? Go through everything. All of those things related to the body need to be regulated and managed. It sounds like a bit kind of dogmatic, but the reason is it's a very specific reason. It's because the ego, the part of us which is largely in control of us a lot of the time, will assert its control, for want of a better way of putting it, through our sensual body. A way of subduing that ego and regaining more control of ourself is by regulating our sensual behaviors and making sure that we are balanced and in control of all of those different areas. So that's one really key thing. But in order to have an out-of-body experience and actually access higher planes of existence, we really need to subdue the senses in a meditation. So when these experiences that I'm talking about, out-of-body experiences, I'm specifically talking about having them within a meditation. So we have to learn to subdue all of the senses when you're in a meditation, and it's part of meditation anyway, but you have to take it to the next level. So you might sit down and you might get itches in different parts of your body. So the first thing is to resist the urge to scratch, resist the urge to move. You have to learn to be still, to be absolutely laser still, just no movement to you whatsoever, not itching or moving around and fidgeting. That alone is hard. It sounds like some sort of military boot camp when I say it like this a little bit, but you do have to take it that seriously if you really want to go far with meditation. There are lots of people around the world that meditate, but there are only a very small number of people who actually progress and have profound experiences in meditation. And partly, there's obviously lots of reasons why that is, but partly it's because people don't take it to the extreme in a way. They don't take it seriously. They don't implement all of these things and be very on it with them. So making sure that the body is totally still and subduing all of the senses. So if you have a need to drink, if you have a need to want to eat food, or if you have lust, that you kind of urges of lust or sexual desires when you sit down to meditate, whether you have fear or anxiety, just know that it's the ego working through those senses in order to disturb your meditation. And you may ask, why is that the case? Why would my ego want to disturb my meditation? Why would it do that? Specifically in meditation, what you're learning about yourself, the ego does not want you to know, because you're starting to realize yourself. Little by little, as you go deeper into your meditation, you're experiencing yourself at higher and higher levels of consciousness. When you become fully realized, which I am not, but I have been told this is the case, the ego is no longer needed. The ego will fight, for want of a better way of putting it, to stop you progressing and stop you inquiring into who you really are and doing things like meditation. So there will always be resistance, and that resistance will come through your sensual body. So all of those things that I mentioned, itches, the need to drink, the need to eat, or the desire for sex, that kind of, those sexual urges that you may have. Anything related to the body, anything related to the sensual body is your ego trying to interfere with the meditation in order to disrupt it so that you don't do it. And most people don't know that this is the case, so that they end up itching, they end up moving around, they end up stopping and having a drink or doing whatever, and that really interrupts it and they don't progress because of that, partly. Then obviously you've got the mental aspect. It takes a hell of a lot of work for the average person to start to subdue the mental chatter. The mental chatter has to be very, very much silenced in order to go beyond and into higher levels of consciousness in the meditation, because that will keep you at a surface level. That will keep you in the conscious mind if that's constantly there and interrupting. You can often start to delve beyond the conscious mind even when there is that chatter. So there is a fine line with it where you can work with it to some degree, but you have to reduce the mental chatter to a good level. That only comes in time. You have to put in the work. You have to consistently meditate every day, no matter whether you can be bothered, no matter whether you've got other things going on. Do the proper work, sit down every day and do your meditation, and don't just do some bullshit guided meditation on YouTube. Do a proper single pointed focus meditation that is simple. It doesn't have to be anything intricate. People want to do fancy meditations and learn lots of different styles of meditation, and I understand that because it's intriguing and there's lots of things to learn. Find the most simple meditation you can and become a fucking master at that one thing. We're very good at scattering our attention nowadays and trying lots of things and not really being a master at anything. But to progress in meditation, to really go deep in your practice, you need to find one and just fucking go for it. Just dive in with it, and don't let your mind sway you away and try and get you to flick around and try other meditations. Whether it's something simple like just following the breathing, become an expert meditator at just following the breathing. Delve into that, and that one meditation technique alone, if you refine it and refine it and refine it, will take you into higher and higher levels of consciousness. It doesn't matter what the meditation is, you just have to get good at that one. Find a meditation, stick with it, start to subdue the mental chatter and get good at managing your sensual body, which happens outside of the meditation just as much as it does inside of the meditation. That's related to the body. The next one, obviously, as I said, is the mind. So that's related to quietening the mind. But the next part is arguably the most important part, which is also a big missing link, I think, with a lot of people at the moment. A lot of people, at least I've spoke to, is now developing an incredibly strong relationship or connection with the source. Some people might call that God or the divine or the universe. The source of all of this existence is what you're actually working towards. You are that source, but at the moment, I'm just talking generally, you might not be, but just generally speaking, people are lost and they have lost their true identity. They think they're this mind-body experience, but they're actually embodiments of infinite divine light, basically, and you are that. It sounds a bit wordy and a bit weird, but you are infinite divine light. You have to direct your mind, an attribute of this gross existence, this gross realm. You have to direct that mind to God, and essentially you're using your spirit to align the body by managing the senses, by managing the mind and directing your mind to divinity through developing a connection with God by prayer, by just talking to God as if he was your mate, and developing a strong connection there with that source. And if you follow a particular religion, you might, for instance, communicate in your mind with Jesus, or if you were Hindu, you might communicate in your mind with Krishna. If you don't follow a particular religion, you might just call that thing God or the universe. It doesn't really matter. They're all different names for the same entity, the same energy, the same essence. So just find a name or something that works for you in terms of having a direction within your meditation, and start to get close to that source. As I'm saying this to you, you may feel resistance. You may think and have doubts and have that social conditioning come to the forefront. It's important that you know that the ego that I was talking about with relation to the body and working through the senses equally works to disrupt and take you off of this direction towards God. So when I talk about God and things like that, and even that word sometimes triggers people. And what is it that's triggering you? What is it that's being triggered? It's not you, it's not the spirit you, it's your ego. It's based on your social conditioning and everything else. But the ego doesn't want you to direct yourself to God, because that's how you're going to become who you really are. That's how you're going to realize yourself and actually transcend this current realm of existence. So you will face fears and doubts and anxieties and worries about whether this is the right route. The right route. But just know that it's your ego. You have to overcome doubt. You have to overcome fear. There's got to be some level of belief there. You have to step through that fear and really just go beyond it. So be aware that you're going to have that, but directing yourself to God and asking God for guidance, asking the source or whatever for guidance, asking, and importantly, actually this is a really important point to make, asking only to be given as much as you can bear. And this is absolutely crucial, because my teacher always used to say to me, what was the word? He said something like, be careful, he used to say, be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it. Or be careful what you ask for, because you might just get it. And he basically was saying that if you ask enough, if you want something enough, you will get it, but it might not be what you need. Be very careful when you ask for experiences and you work towards experiences. If you develop that connection with the divine, ask to only be given what is enough for you to bear or what is correct for you, because then you know that whatever experiences you can come your way, no matter how hard they might be to manage, you can bear them, because you've got that support. You've asked, you've made sure that you're not asking for things willy-nilly and kind of having experiences happen to you that you're not quite maybe ready for. So asking for guidance and developing a relationship with God is absolutely crucial for this work. And the third thing is focus and aspiration. So actually having a real strong, consistent desire to want to go beyond, to want to know what is beyond this current level of existence, to want to know what other realms are there. That has got to be extremely strong. If that wavers, if that is half-assed, if you just are interested in having an out-of-body experience, or if that is just a curiosity, but there's no real oomph behind it, there's no real grit there, you won't have an out-of-body experience. If you do, it's purely based on work that you've done in previous lifetimes. But the chances are, if you don't really strongly want it, it's not going to happen for you. So assume that you haven't done things in previous lifetimes and really work with intent in this lifetime. Develop the want. Obviously, there's only so want kind of comes naturally, right? But that spark, if you have that ember of desire for truth, for knowledge, for experience, then work on it. Read more, get inspired, watch things that are going to inspire you, and put in the work at the same time. And eventually you'll find that when your desire for truth and for knowledge and experience is strong, and you're communicating and developing, establishing a stronger relationship with God, you're subduing your sensual body, you're quieting quietening the mental chatter. And then the last point is going into your meditations with very strong intensity. This means that you are going in with purpose, you're going in with energy and effort. You're not just sitting down in a kind of habitual way each day and just going through the motions and just dipping your toe into some depth. You're going in and you're making it serious, and you're saying, right, I'm going into this meditation and I'm going to really actually be here and putting all my energy into play. I'm really putting effort in. And obviously with meditation, there's a fine line between effort and non-effort. You know, you can't be like gritting your teeth and trying in a physical way, but inwardly there's got to be this strong desire to want to experience more. When all of those things align, I have out-of-body experiences. That is when I start to sort of expand. That's when I really accelerate my progress. All of the times I've come out of my body and accessed higher planes and been in other realms, out-of-body experiences. None of this dreamlike, lucid dreaming shit. That's like, you know, nursery play. When you're talking proper out-of-body experiences, it can be fucking scary. It's very real. It's more real than this physical reality, way more real. And it's you know for absolute certain, without any ifs or buts, what's what. And to do that, those things all have to be aligned. So it's not an easy thing to do, and there are lots of teachers and gurus that you'll find on YouTube who say, do these 1 or 2 things for 1 or 2 nights and you're going to astral project. And in my experience, it's never been like that. You have to really lay the foundations, and anything that comes very quickly like that is generally, I've found, not progressive in the long run. Like, for example, a really good tool for people is, what do they call it? Hypnosis, right? You can hypnotize someone, which is where you access their subconscious mind, or a hypnotist would access your subconscious mind, change the programming so that you change your habits in the long run. So your subconscious mind isn't powering you in the wrong direction. In a very short breakdown of what that entails. Meditation is a process of accessing your subconscious mind, except you're the one that has to subdue all of your sensual body. You have to subdue the mental chatter. So it takes a lot longer, it's a lot harder, but in the long run, you're the one that's able to do it. You're the one that's able to change yourself. You're the one that has learned how to manage your ego, manage your body, quieten your mind, develop yourself, develop self-discipline. You've developed so much of yourself and you've got the same outcome. Whereas if someone gives it to you, or if you do these 1 or 2 real simple things that bypass this and that and get you there, which maybe there are things like that with regards to astral projection and things, you've not developed yourself in any way. You've not subdued your ego. You've not expanded your consciousness. You've not developed yourself and grown. So going through the process in a steady but consistent way, building the foundations so that they're strong, and then getting to these places through that route, for me, is the way that I would advise. You obviously have free will to do what you want, and you can dismiss this advice and might work out for you, it might not. Who am I to say? But my advice is that build a strong foundation, manage the body, manage the mind, direct yourself to a divine source, whatever that looks like for you, and have strong aspiration and focus to really have an out-of-body experience, and you will then have one, because whatever you want and you put action to, you get. Okay guys, so I'm going to show you exactly how I position myself, and then the method itself that I use to access higher planes and go beyond the astral plane and come out of my body in meditations. So I prefer a kneeling stool. And I've always had the most success in my meditations when I've been using a kneeling stool. Now, I've had out-of-body experiences when I'm not using this, so it's not like you've got to use this. But for me personally, I'm not that flexible, and I grew up meditating sitting on a chair, so I've not been meditating cross-legged all my life, so I've not developed that flexibility. And I find I do meditate quite often just sitting on a zafu, like a meditation cushion, and that is great. I really love that position, but a lot of the more profound meditations that I've had have been when I've been using a kneeling stool. Now, as I say, there's a high chance that is just chance, but I want to show you I want to give you the best chance, really. So personally, using as a kneeling stool, I think enables me to keep a better position because of the way that it tilts your pelvis forward. It allows you to maintain a straight spine a bit more naturally for people like myself who aren't particularly flexible. And that is really key for meditation because there's a lot of energy that we're drawing in when we're breathing. And also if certain energy is released within the body, it circulates up and down the spine generally, also around the body in different ways, but the spine is really key. It's like the motorway of a lot of energy. So maintaining a nice, comfortable, straight spine is really, really important. And there are other chi locks. So this is basically like energy locks or ways of circulating energy more freely around the body to enhance the meditation. And one of those is by simply placing the left big toe on top of the right big toe. So energy circulates down the lower half of the body, and if you've got the feet separated, it's not got a circuit to then come back around the body. So you're just dissipating it into the ground, which isn't bad. You're giving back to the earth. There's nothing, it's a good thing to do. But in terms of circulating energy and sort of storing energy or allowing that energy to be of use within your system, creating chi locks is really important. So overlapping the big toes on the lower half creates a chi lock there. And the other thing is with a mudra. Now that is a hand position. There are hundreds of different mudras that you can use, and the main purpose of mudras is to circulate chi or prana around the body to certain areas or to have it for a specific purpose. So there are lots of different mudras, but I wouldn't get too wrapped up in using a specific mudra. I wouldn't get too wrapped up in it, at least exploring hundreds of different types. I would find yourself a handful, maybe 2 or 3 in fact, and just try and work out which feels the most comfortable, which feels the most natural. And at certain times you can use different mudras for certain things. So I won't go into that because that's like a whole video in itself. But a mudra that I would recommend you to use, that I've had the most success with in having profound experiences, is what I call the align mudra. So sitting down like this with the chi lock engaged with the toes on top of one another, with your hands, you're going to place them together. You're going to interlock the ring finger and the middle finger. So you're making this kind of how you'd see people with the power pose. You see the thumbs touching and the index fingers touching as well, and the other fingers are just interlocked. So it's like that power pose, but instead you're also touching the little fingers together. And this just rests off of the lap. And the idea with this particular mudra is that you're sending chi back to the divine, you're sending chi out and back to yourself, and then through the little fingers you're sending chi to the earth, and then equally you're interlocking, so you're saving, you're reserving some chi for yourself as well. You're recirculating some of that chi. So this is a really powerful mudra, and you'll find that it actually sits quite naturally off of the lap. So when you're in this nice position here, you're going to keep a nice straight spine, nice comfortably straight spine. And it's important that you really relax the whole body when you get into meditation. In any meditation, not regardless of whether you're trying to have some profound experience, it's important to consciously relax, starting from the top down really, relaxing all of the muscles within your face, relaxing your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your belly, finding that nice soft belly, the lower half of your body. Just really consciously spend a few moments just breathing steadily in through the nose, out through the nose, and relaxing the whole body. You want to spend a good couple of minutes doing that as you move into the meditation itself. The third chi lock that you want to make is the tongue needs to rest at the roof of the mouth. So if you were to say the letter L, where your tongue naturally rests, that's where you keep it. So the tongue just sits at the roof of the mouth, and that is the third chi lock to allow chi to circulate around the body in a specific way. As we get to the top of the head, your head wants to be tilted ever so slightly down just to align the cervical vertebrae at the top. This is the position that you will meditate in. Another pointer is This stool is actually quite a short stool for me, so I often use a cushion on top of this just to boost me up a little bit higher, so that this angle on my knee isn't so sharp. So you can adjust the height of your stool to suit you as well. So once you're in this position, you'd close the eyes, and I won't get into all of the intricacies of how you move into the meditation, but essentially you want to just fully relax yourself, because I'd be here all day going through it, but you want to fully relax yourself. And the actual specific technique that I use to start to go beyond the body and start to access higher planes is a very simple method. This is the most simple method of meditation you'll ever have come across, but the one intricacy that makes this different is regulating your breathing. So I would advise you to follow the sensation of air, the sensation that the air creates as you breathe in and out through the nose. If you just take a few breaths in and out through your nose now. You'll notice you can feel the flow of air going in and out. You'll feel the cool air as it goes in through the nostril passages, and you'll feel it as being slightly warmer as you exhale. Now, you really want to narrow your window of awareness right the way down to a tiny, tiny spot. So you'll find that you'll notice sensations in several places quite often around the nose. And I would specifically work on, or at least for me, it works to specifically focus on the very tip of the nose. And I will narrow my awareness down to an absolute minute part of the tip of my nose and delve into the sensations there. And they might be so subtle, virtually, unrecognizable. But I'll find that small dot of sensations or sensation, and I'll just observe it. I'll just observe it like a laser. And you will find that your mind will start to want to wander, and that inner monologue will be over the top of you, trying to disturb you. And all of the things that I've mentioned in this video with regards to the body aching, getting itches, wanting to fidget, all of those different distractions will surface when you sit down in the quiet of your own house and try to meditate. So be aware of all of those things and just keep coming back to this teeny tiny little spot. Now, if you're new to meditation, you're going to have a much harder time doing that. You're going to have to focus on a broader area, and over time, over weeks and months, narrow your awareness down till it's on a fine point. So it might be initially that you just start to become aware of breathing. You just notice that I'm inhaling and I'm exhaling. I'm inhaling, I'm exhaling. Then you narrow it down a bit. Okay, let's pick an area that I can feel this air coming in. Oh, I can feel it maybe on the upper lip or in and around the nostrils, and just start to dial that window down. This is going to take you potentially a few weeks or months, depending on where you're at. But once you've got to the point where you can find a teeny tiny spot and follow it and just singularly focus on that place, you're in a good position now. So from this place, the specific part of accessing higher planes and actually coming out of the body for me is regulating my breathing down so that it's very shallow. Now, this is partly a natural occurrence. There is a period of time within the meditation where the breathing goes beyond what I could normally sustain. So my breathing gets so shallow that normally I would follow that kind of rhythm of breathing, and then I'd be gasping for air because it's just not enough for me to sustain my body on. I'd sort of become unconscious eventually. But I can regulate it down to as low as I can manage and not be gasping for air. And I'd be breathing nice and steady, nice and shallow, breathing from the belly, so having this rise and fall of the belly, and just gradually over the next say 5 minutes of your meditation, start to tailor down your breathing so that it's becoming more and more effortless. You're breathing more and more shallow, but at a rate that is manageable. And what you'll find when things align, when the mind starts to become quiet, when you start to disengage somewhat from your sensual body, when you start to forget your surroundings, you start to forget yourself in a way, This is when you're starting to go deeper in your meditation. And then if you can narrow down and find this nice frequency of breath, this is where you'll start to tune into the place where you will come out of your body eventually. Now, it's a bit like tuning into a radio. For me, I have to dial my breathing right the way down so that it's a really, really shallow breath. And as I say, it then naturally goes further when things align. And a bit of divine intervention, I believe, as well. I feel like none of this can happen without some divine intervention. But you have to put yourself in the right position. You have to be willing. You have to have that desire initially. And then I feel like you get a bit of a helping hand when you're at that place. So for me, it's dialing the breathing down. But for you, it's going to be a case of finding which rhythm of breathing is your sweet spot. So for you, it might not be a shallow breath. It might be that you find a steadier, deeper breath is where you tune into that place where you start to suddenly rapidly go deeper in your meditation. For me, it's really, really shallow. I barely feel like I'm breathing, and then it goes even further. So this is going to be a thing that you're going to have to experiment with. You're going to have to play around with your breathing rhythm in meditation and find your sweet spot. But if you align yourself in this particular way, using this position, find a nice quiet space, get some incense sticks on, you go through all of those things that I mentioned at the start with regards to focus, aspiration, the mental side of things, asking God for guidance, asking the divine or the source for guidance, then following that particular meditation, this is going to give you the best chance of having an out-of-body experience. This is when I always have out-of-body experiences. I've had some absolutely mind-boggling, profound experiences doing that simple method, but the specific intricacy of it is all of the positioning and the breathing rate, finding that right breathing rate for you. So give it a go. Let me know down in the comments if this is something that you've had a go at and if you've had any success, or let me know how you get on with it. I'd love to hear. So I wanted to make this video quite raw and personal. I didn't want to edit it too heavily or anything like that. I wanted to make it just really just off the cuff really. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I will put the last video that I did in relation to my experience, where I went into depth on what actually happened in my experience, I'll put at the end of this video, so feel free to watch that if you want to. Please do like the video, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to or follow my Instagram account, and I hopefully will see you on the next video.